Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you again to Royal Farms Arena, Baltimore, Maryland. This is Premier Boxing Champions, and this is Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown. This is the next attraction of the evening, 8 rounds of boxing in the super lightweight division. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout will be Lynn Carter, Larry Hazard Jr., and Dave Moretti. And in the ring, the man laying the law when the bell sounds, referee Brent Bovell. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing the colors of the United States Marine Corps. He weighed in officially at 139 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 9 victories, 4 defeats with 1 bout, even 6 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas, presenting Jonathan Steele. And his opponent fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing orange and black trim trunks. He weighed in officially at 140 1/4 pounds. His professional record, 15 victories, no defeats, 9 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland, presenting Malik Iceman Hawkins. Once again, referee Brent Bovell for instructions.
All right, we went over instructions in the dressing room. I want you to obey my commands at all times, protect yourselves at all times. Let's touch them up.
Malik Iceman Hawkins takes on Jonathan Steele. Super lightweight 8-round fight, and we are excited to see what Hawkins has to offer here tonight in his home city of Baltimore, part of the Gervonta Davis stable. The bell and round number 1.
Really looking forward to seeing Hawkins. He's on my short list for top prospects.
15-0, 9 knockouts. Jonathan Steele 9-4-1, 6 KOs.
He got rocked. Hawkins is hurt.
Hawkins hurt early on. Coming flying out of his corner is Steele, and he is setting the early tone. Big overhand right. Couldn't quite land that right hook, but he is walking down Hawkins to start this one.
Watch the head, watch the head.
And Hawkins should be doing a little bit of holding or a little bit of moving, one or the other, but when you have this much time left in a round, you don't want to make yourself vulnerable by trading, because he certainly got hit with 3 or 4 flush shots. Steele's a tough guy. And Steele said to us yesterday, Brent, I can take more punishment than you can, and that's why I'm going to beat you. That's an interesting approach, but...
At one point when he was playing football growing up, he was over 200 pounds. He was a slot back and punt return man. Started doing weights in 6th grade, benched 345 at his junior year in high school.
Yeah, pretty amazing athlete. I think he told us also he's run some super marathons. Or
Absolutely. An ultra marathon just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In 10 hours, 36 minutes, 50 miles.
Takes me that long to get across town to Manhattan.
Exactly. He is not afraid, he says, to reach another level in terms of out-of-body experience when it comes to taking pain.
And he is bringing it. These guys are going at it in this first round.
Straight right there, and a nice one from Malik Hawkins, the Iceman. Minute left in round number 1 of 8.
Hawkins has been fighting heavier. He's down to 140, super lightweight or junior welterweight, whatever you want to call it. And when you're as tall as he is, he's a 6-foot fighter. That's it's good to be able to fight lower. You have increased physical advantages on your opponents.
He told us he fights better on the inside than most tall fighters. Very comfortable in there. Now he's trying to steal this first round in the closing minute, but Steele right back at him.
Yeah, Hawkins going to have to do something pretty dramatic to win this round, because that first 15 or 20 seconds, that was a pretty scary time for him. But he's shown some resiliency.
Nice uppercut, and then follows it with a right, does Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins has won the remainder of the round, but did Steele do enough in those first 20 seconds to take it?
10 seconds in round one. Hawkins and Steele. Super lightweights. And a quiet close to a pretty eventful round number one.
And you see lots of trading on the inside. Brent mentioned that Hawkins likes to fight on the inside. Maybe perhaps more than his physical dimensions would suit him. And for the second fight in a row, we have a fighter not using a stool.
Jonathan Steele. He said, it's not about the record. I'm going to give you an entertaining fight. I'm fighting to feed my kids. 1-year-old boy, Sage, 3-year-old girl named Phoenix. And you can tell he just loves what he does for a job, and that's how he treats this thing.
Very competitive guy. He's been a sparring partner for Terrence Crawford, for Adrian Broner, for Errol Spence.
Jamel Herring is like his big brother as well, he says.
Well, Steele was a former Marine, right?
Yep, just like Herring. Cool story there, yep.
Yeah, very impressive young man.
28 years of age against the 23-year-old Malik Iceman Hawkins. So you gave round one to Steele?
Yeah, reluctantly so, because Hawkins did so much good work later in the round. But I still feel, it's the hurt business, and if a fighter's hurt, as I thought Hawkins was early in the fight, in the round, give the other guy the round.
Good test here for Hawkins. Fought only twice in 2017, only once in 2018. Had kind of a bad deal out of the ring with his manager, and then the combination of a bad cut that lasted under his eye for a long time, and not a good promotional deal, but here he is in 2019 and going to start fighting more often, clearly.
And what you see in boxing a lot, and Hawkins is a good example of this, he's tied in with the Gervonta Davis camp, and that means he's going to get opportunities. He's going to get opportunities on cards like this. He's going to get television opportunities. That's all very valuable. That's something not every young fighter gets.
He wants to fight again, Hawkins does, in September and November as well of this year. 93-8 as an amateur, Hawkins. And 15-0 as a professional. Rock Steele back there. Steele steps in for more.
Now, is Hawkins trying to look like Odell Beckham? Is that the goal?
Whether or not he's trying, he certainly does with that hair. Or Charlo as well. Couple of nice shots to the body and the chopping left, a left hook to the body and a straight right from Hawkins has Steele in trouble in the corner. He is eating leather right now. Couple of more straight rights and an uppercut from Hawkins.
Well, Steele told us I can take more punishment than the other guy.
He's taking it right here.
He's testing it.
In round two, straight right after straight right. Fires in some left hooks is Hawkins. And as advertised in terms of his ability on the inside.
This is a crackling fight, and right now, Hawkins very possibly punching himself out a little bit, understandably so. This next 30 seconds, I would say that Steele is going to be particularly dangerous.
20 seconds in round two. A cracking second round from Hawkins and Steele. I thought Steele was a little bit rocked, but he's coming back here to close out this second. Well, if Hawkins wanted a test tonight, he's getting one.
He's getting one for sure. And I'm not counting punches, but I bet you they both threw over 100 shots that round.
Straight rights doing damage, and then right and left hooks into the body and back to the head.
And given Steele's style, he was almost welcoming this onslaught from Odell Beckham.
The Iceman, Hawkins, fighting in his hometown of Baltimore for the first time in nearly 4 years. We've talked at length that he's a stablemate of Gervonta Davis. And we asked him what he's learned from Davis, and he said, be an animal at all times, stay smart, stay humble, and learn from your mistakes. Gervonta will be the headliner tonight. The WBA Super Featherweight Champion of the world as he takes on Ricardo Nunez. That main card begins at 9 Eastern, only on Showtime. Both fighters come out swinging again here in round 3.
Yeah, the pace has been great.
Big shots from both. Couple left hooks from Steele.
Brent, you talked about the test for Hawkins. Maybe a little bigger test than they were expecting or hoping for.
Exactly.
So far, anyway.
Hawkins coached by Calvin Ford. His trainer, Kenny Ellis. 2 minutes to go in round 3. Steele eating some shots here from Hawkins. Hawkins. Every time Hawkins lands a couple of shots, Steele has been able to answer back.
And consistently, Hawkins negates that reach advantage by stepping forward and making it an in-fight. That's just the nature of how he fights.
Yeah.
That's how he wants to fight.
6 foot tall. You don't see it all that often with a fighter of his size.
Yeah, 140-pounder, 6 foot. It's unusual. It'll be interesting to see if this pace remains the way it's been. We mentioned Hawkins fighting lighter, 3-4 pounds lighter than he's used to, in dropping down to junior welterweight, super lightweight. Will he get a little bit of, will he feel weak? Sometimes that happens when you fight lighter than you are accustomed to.
Steele's corner led by trainer Roger Rodas, imploring him to fire to the body and move. Short chopping right. Left hook, another left, and an uppercut from Hawkins.
Well, if nothing else, Steele is making Hawkins work. There's no resting in this fight. And how many times have they clinched? Hardly at all.
Hardly at all. In any of the 3 fights we've seen so far tonight. Been entertaining stuff. Kareem Martin, TKO after 3 rounds in the first fight. Dylan Price went the distance against Gutierrez. Got a unanimous decision. And here Malik Hawkins is getting a stiff test, at least early on in the first half of this fight, from Jonathan Steele. All leading up to the main card at 9 Eastern on Showtime. Headlined by Baltimore native and WBA Super Featherweight Champ of the world, Gervonta Davis, taking on Ricardo Nunez. And some very good fighters at the top of the Super Featherweight division. And some fighters from the weight just below that have been calling Gervonta Davis out in recent days.
Yeah, that's always a sign that you're making it, that you're becoming a star, when fighters calling you out, and big name fighters are calling Gervonta Davis out. Some featherweights like Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell,
Tevin Farmer.
Tevin Farmer and Gervonta have had a war of words on multiple platforms. But that would be a good fight.
If Gervonta wins over Nunez tonight on Showtime, who would you like to see him fight next?
Well, he needs 2 things. He needs adequate competition, and he needs name opposition. So I want it to be I mean, Leo Santa Cruz would be great because there's never a bad fight with Leo Santa Cruz, even though he'd be moving up in weight yet again. Tevin Farmer would be a great fight too. I think with Gervonta's style, it's really hard to make a bad fight. So I assume that was a push. Yeah, I'll take any of them. I really would. I'd be very happy with any of those fights. And who knows what we're going to get tonight, because the way Nunez talks, we might get a war tonight. Who knows? Now, Nunez, will he keep his promise of making it a punch-a-thon once he gets hit? Because you know the old Mike Tyson saying, everybody has a plan till they get hit in the mouth, right?
Exactly.
Let's see when he feels Gervonta Davis's power, if he's going to continue to want to make it a brawl. We'll see.
Ricardo Nunez is 21-2 coming in. 19 of his 21 wins by knockout. Steele with a nice counter left. Rocking Hawkins there. Round number 4 of 8, super lightweight division, Hawkins and Steele.
And if you want to see Hawkins take advantage of his reach, you're disappointed, because that's really not what he's doing. Right now his hands are down. He's stepping back a little bit, trying to establish some distance. But for the most part, a lot of this fight has been fought on the inside, which I think is just his nature. And it makes it difficult for his trainer. Do you want to try to teach him to maximize that reach, the effectiveness of that reach, or do you want him to be himself?
We certainly know that Hawkins is not overlooking the opponent. He said he treats every opponent like it's Mike Tyson. But his opponent is Jonathan Steele tonight, and he has come to fight, at least in the first half of this one.
Steele letting go there, but I think for the first time there's been a little bit of a lull in the action in this round, after 3 pretty furious rounds, 1 through 3.
Final 30 seconds of round 4. Hawkins, right hook. Comes back with a left. Good work there, getting in and out. And 10 seconds in round 4. And we are halfway through this super lightweight fight. 4 of 8 in the books. Brent Stover, the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood. Who do you give the advantage to right now through 4 rounds?
Well, it's interesting that Hawkins kind of changed his style a little bit there, Brent, in that second half of that last round, because he was moving, trying to establish distance. If he does that, he has to jab. If he doesn't jab, then he's negating his reach. So it'll be interesting to see in the second half of the fight whether he slows the pace, as it was slowed in round 4, and tries to use those natural advantages that he has instead of making it an infight, which is clearly what Jonathan Steele wants.
Certainly in these fights, there's one guy that's the star prospect on the rise, and then there's the other guy. In this case, Steele is the other guy, but what have you seen from him that you like?
He's a tough guy. I mean, he says that I can take more punishment than you, and I think he means it. He may not be the most skilled guy in the world, started boxing a little later than most people, but a great test, and you can see why he's a sparring partner to so many stars.
Steele comes out gunning here in round number 5. Hawkins has never been beaten, 15-0. And 9 knockouts. Some body work to begin this 5th round from Hawkins.
And you can make the point that, you know, what do we see from Hawkins? What's positive? Maybe the most positive thing so far at the halfway mark is that he weathered that early storm, that scare he had in the first 20 or so seconds of round 1.
Couple of nice straight rights to the body. Liver shots here from Hawkins. And then goes up top with a straight right.
Seems Hawkins gets a little more leverage on his right hand, his straight right hand, than his hook. Not unusual for a tall fighter. Got rocked there by a right hand.
Steele trying to cut off the ring here. And Hawkins bobbing and weaving. 140 in round 5.
So I guess I got my answer to my question about whether Hawkins was going to try to fight from the distance a little bit more. He's not. We're right back to the inside.
Back inside with a right uppercut.
See, where's the jab? He's got a jab, and Hawkins isn't jabbing.
Lead right there, right hook to the head. Missed with a couple, but not with that left hook. And now Steele taking some punishment inside the final minute of round 5.
Malik Hawkins is a good puncher, and you get the impression that despite that, there's just something tough about Jonathan Steele, and he's never been stopped. And you get the impression that he's going to find a way to get to the end. Whether he wins or loses this fight, he's going to get to the end of 8 rounds.
See Quan on the front of his trunks. That was his father's name. Steele's father was murdered back in 2012. Jonathan certainly fighting for his father's memory, as we said earlier, and a quote from him, to feed my kids. All I want to do is be a dad, and this boxing allows me to do that. It's my lifestyle. Final 10 seconds of round 5. And 3 rounds to go for the Iceman Malik Hawkins. And he's not using the jab as much as you'd like to see.
That's for sure. You see a lot of power shots coming here from Hawkins. A little bit squared up. The fact that we can see his entire back in that shot tells you left foot's not in front of the right foot. I mean, he definitely has long arms. He's not just 6 feet tall. He has very long arms, and he's not taking full advantage of it. When you're tall, you want to land that straight right hand at exactly the right distance. Pronate your punch, catch him at the end of the punch, but punch through your opponent. And it's not always that easy to do for tall fighters. But when they do connect perfectly, there's usually very dramatic results.
The bell in round 6. The finale of 3 fights on this preliminary card, part of Showtime Championship Boxing Live Countdown. And you see that clock in the top right, inside of 50 minutes until the main card on Showtime, featuring Gervonta Davis and Ricardo Nunez. Davis, the WBA super featherweight champion of the world, fighting in his hometown of Baltimore, fighting here, defending his world title for the first time.
And Brent, I think somebody said something to Hawkins about jabbing, because he threw more jabs in the first 40 seconds of this round than he has in the whole fight. Let's see if he maintains it.
Calvin Ford, Kenny Ellis in Hawkins' corner. He's walking Steele down here. A couple of nice left hooks from Hawkins.
You can imagine how badly Hawkins wants a knockout. Let's not forget, he's from Baltimore.
Yep.
He's only fought here a couple of times. First time he's fought here in 4 years.
And a pretty nice crowd began to fill out here when he came to the ring for this 3rd and final preliminary fight. Baltimore native Malik Hawkins.
And we talked before about how being a stablemate of Gervonta Davis is a positive, because you can get opportunities, you can get exposure. But at some point, a fighter like this, who's now had, 15 fights, he wants to make his own name. You know, and one of the ways you do that is color your hair the way he's done it. And another way is by scoring some knockouts. So
he said, I want to be in Gervonta's spot by the end of this year or next year.
That's ambitious.
That's very ambitious. But they're like brothers, and it's been pretty much coming up at every level, from elementary school, junior high, into high school. They have been, basically Hawkins has been the shadow of Tank Davis.
I think he said 2nd grade, right?
Yeah.
When they met.
That's right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And they have sparred a ton together and learned a lot from each other. Inside the final minute of round 6.
And if you're considering the 8-round distance, Hawkins has been as long as 10 one time. So 8 shouldn't be a problem.
Steele coming back from more, eats a shot there from Hawkins.
See, the work rate of Steele dropped significantly.
Well, he came out in the first 15 seconds, guns blazing in this one. And he rocked Hawkins right from the get-go. His left hook to end the round there from Malik Hawkins. 6 rounds in.
And that's Calvin Ford working the corner there with the water bottle.
Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live. 46 minutes until the main card on Showtime. Gervonta Davis, Ricardo Nunez. This the third of the 3 preliminary fights. The Showtime streaming platforms. And we saw Kareem Martin take care of his opponent, Luis Avila, with a 3rd-round TKO in the opening fight, super lightweight fight. Dylan Price went the distance against Samuel Gutierrez, got a unanimous decision. And now Malik Hawkins and Jonathan Steele into the waning rounds of this super lightweight bout. The bell in round 7.
Such a big night, Brent, for Baltimore.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, God bless casinos because they've kept boxing alive, and Lord knows there have been enough big fights in Vegas. We've all enjoyed them. But there's something about fighting in a town you're from with real live fans, not just casino patrons, that makes boxing that much better.
And inside this arena, there's so many awesome new venues, right? To host fights, and this thing has been around for a long, long time, this Royal Farms Arena, formerly the Civic Center. And it's got some character to it, just like this city. And as you said, with Gervonta Davis fighting in his hometown and a guy like Malik Hawkins trying to put on a show in front of his home fans as well, it's a fun night here on Showtime.
Crab cakes, Camden Yards, and Gervonta Davis.
That's right.
That's a good trifecta.
Exactly. See what Hawkins can do in the final half of round 7 against a very tough opponent in Jonathan Steele.
Steele's last 8 fights have gone the distance. And I think we're going to make that 9, it looks like.
Hawkins trying to measure the distance with that jab that hasn't used enough of in this fight. Gets on the inside and delivers.
Well, Steele may have won the first 30 seconds of the first round, but I don't know if he's won any rounds since.
It's been a Hawkins since. It's thrown over the ropes. Brent Bovell, referee, gets in between them. We haven't had to see much of that in this fight. Another reason it's been entertaining.
Very true.
Big left hook to the head from Hawkins. And a straight right, splitting the guard, and another one from Malik Hawkins.
A couple of times now I've noticed Hawkins looking to his left, to his, I guess that's his corner that he's looking at. Not a wise thing to do. Take your eyes off your opponent at any point. These punches sharp and they're landing, but they're not being thrown with a lot of speed. But because Steele is so confrontational and wants to fight, he's walking onto some of these punches.
Final 10 seconds in round 7. Steele trying to close with a flurry here. And 7 rounds in. And Hawkins will go back to his corner and get ready for the final 3 minutes.
This was early in the round. You could see they're fighting again on the inside. Big left hook. One of the best punches of the fight for Hawkins. He's turned into a southpaw stance there. I'm not so sure it was by choice, just by the way his body moved after he punched.
Well, he's been prone to keep this fight on the inside. Is that going to be something he continues to do, or is he going to have to fight going forward more on the outside?
Well, ideally he could do a little bit of both, master both. That might be asking a lot. I think you have to let a fighter be what he is. You know, he compared himself a little bit to Diego Corrales, the great junior light and lightweight champion who was a tall fighter who fought well on the inside. We all remember Riddick Bowe, who was a big heavyweight, 6'5" heavyweight, who fought very well on the inside. You have to be what you are and what you're comfortable at. Doesn't mean you can't learn to fight the other way, but ultimately you're going to do what you're comfortable doing.
In the super lightweight division, final round of 8 between Hawkins and Steele. Trading punches center of the ring. Hawkins with a couple of big body shots, and then he eats leather to the face, a couple from Hawkins. Nice right uppercut, and then a left uppercut from Hawkins.
Steele competitive till the end, trying. Doesn't have the power to do anything serious, it seems. But he's letting his hands go.
And Hawkins, meanwhile, trying to close the show in style in round 8 in front of his hometown Baltimore fans.
And what you've seen both in the Dillon fight, the Dillon Price fight, and this fight, you've seen good matchmaking.
Absolutely.
You know, you want the house fighter to win, yes, especially if he's young and developing, but you want him to learn too.
He's landed about 4 uppercuts Hawkins has in this final round, and another there. Halfway through round 8. Super lightweights.
You know, Hawkins looks a little bit like Odell Beckham, too,
absolutely
doesn't he? In the
does.
face, doesn't he?
Absolutely. I think he could be an NFL wide receiver with that build.
And it was Steele that was the football player. Picture this kid. He's fighting tonight at about 140. Picture him at 208.
208.
It's hard to imagine.
As a slot back and a punt return man.
I wouldn't want to have to tackle him when he was 208, I'll tell you that.
Final minute, round 8. Now Hawkins working Steele to the ropes. Nice combination on the inside there from Hawkins. And a left uppercut.
And a good pace to this last round.
I think Hawkins is going to feel pretty good about the way he closed this fight out.
I'm with you.
Another good combination there.
And the reason he should feel good is because of the quality of the opposition.
Boy, you nailed it. The matchmaking was right on, particularly with these last 2 fights. Enough of a test. And you know what? Hats off to Jonathan Steele, because he gave Malik Hawkins a pretty good test here tonight in this 8-rounder. But Hawkins in his hometown with a nice 8th round. Good sportsmanship from both guys, and Malik Hawkins with another nice step on his way up. Malik Hawkins, we feel like he did more than enough to win a decision here, and again, he got rocked a little bit in the first 20 seconds. Credit him with coming back right away and then sustaining it the rest of the way.
It's a cliche, but he got caught cold, you know. And Jonathan Steele is probably going to run an ultramarathon tomorrow.
Exactly. So. Amazing. Jonathan Steele, good job by him, providing a workmanlike effort. And Hawkins was able to get it done on the inside, and a good combination. Particularly, I thought in that final round, showed a little bit of everything. Was able to get in and land some uppercuts and some hooks as well.
Yeah, I think I don't feel any differently about Hawkins than I did before. I still think he's a top prospect. Yeah, he didn't get the stoppage tonight. Some guys just don't get knocked out. We talked about that before in the previous fight. He's 23 years old. He's been 10 rounds. And he's going to get opportunities being with Calvin Ford and being with Gervonta Davis, being part of that team. So he is a prospect to watch, and I think one of the better ones on the U.S. boxing scene.
We've talked about it with Gervonta Davis. There can be obviously pressures. There's a ton of advantages to fight in front of your home crowd. But this was a good crowd out here to watch Malik Hawkins from Baltimore as well, and you wonder what kind of an effect that had on him in this fight.
Yeah, exactly, because he hasn't had as many big fights as Gervonta Davis, who's been a title fight kind of fighter for a few years now. Hawkins, this was a big deal. Again, he hasn't fought in Baltimore very much. I think only his third fight here. So did he try too hard for a knockout? I don't think so. I think his attack was measured, and I think he won pretty much every round after, maybe even won the first round. I don't know. I didn't score it for him, but you could make the argument. So he did what he had to do against a very tough opponent, and very valuable fight for him, I think.
Malik Iceman Hawkins, 23 years of age. Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis, two of the greats in the sport, in his corner. It'll be fun to see where he goes from here. He was 93-8 as an amateur, and looking with this one tonight to get to 16-0 inside the ring for Ralph Velez.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I read the scorecards, a round of applause for both fighters, please. After 8 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Lynn Carter scored the contest 78-74, while judges Larry Hazard Jr. and Dave Moretti scored the contest 79-73 for your winner by unanimous decision. From Baltimore, Maryland, he is still undefeated, Malik Iceman Hawkins.